Alright guys, today we're going to do a comparison of the Hubsan X4 and the Estes Proto X. Now these two helicopters, or quadcopters, are very similar actually. They have lots of the same brains, which we'll talk about soon. First thing I want to do is just talk about some of the pros and cons. I get lots of questions all the time asking which one should I get if I'm going to just get one. And I sometimes usually actually sway towards the X4, which I'll talk about. But let's go ahead and talk about some of the pros and cons. So first off, they both come ready to fly. They're both about the same price. They both come with the same equipment. You got your USB chargers, which are basically the same. You got your transmitters and your quadcopters. Some of the pros to the Estes Proto X is it's just tiny, and that has a cool factor to it. It's one of the smallest, or currently is the smallest. I'm sure they'll keep coming out with new things. But currently it's the smallest quadcopter that there is in the world. So really cool factor there. But other than that, some of the cons are you also have a tiny controller. Now for me it's not bad. I can use this just fine and I have no problem. Now I only use my thumbs. People out there that are finger pinchers, it's more of a weird feel to it. It doesn't quite fit the hand good. But if you're just a thumb user like me, it's pretty easy for me. But that is a con. Lots of people talk about how it's a con. It also doesn't have very many options for flying. You have simple on and off. You don't have any modes. You don't have a low rate and a high rate with the stock controller here. Now you do, which we'll talk about later. So the pros to this is it flies great, it's tiny, really durable because it's so lightweight. If it falls or hits the ground or hits the wall, very unlikely to get damaged. I've crashed it a lot and it's still flying like brand new. For the Hubsan X4, which we'll come back and talk about one more con about this in a second. For the Hubsan X4, some of the pros are nice larger transmitter. You also have settings on the transmitter. You can set up your rates. You can set up your low and high rate, how much you want them to be in your transmitter. So you can adjust and fine tune your rates, which is nice. You also have two rates. You have the low rate and the high rate, which you switch to by pressing in on the right stick. You also have some set up tricks. It'll do flips and 360s, all with just the flick of the right stick here while you're in the air in expert mode or in the second flight mode. You can also use the right stick, press it in, and this will turn on or off the trick functionality. That way it won't accidentally happen if you don't want it to happen. So there's a lot more settings you can do with the Hubsan X4 remote. Now the Hubsan X4 is larger, so it's a little heavier. They both have lights on them, but the one thing about the Hubsan X4, which is a Pro, is the battery is removable. So you can have spare batteries, extra batteries, and you never have to worry about if your battery goes bad. You can always get a new one, or you can have more than one just so you can keep flying without having to charge. You can charge up a few at a time. Going back to one more con about the Estes Proto X, is the battery isn't replaceable. I mean, if you know what you're doing, you probably could take it apart and get a new battery in there. But for the standard user, it's pretty much a installed battery that you're not going to change. So that's one more con to that. Like I said, you could change it if you really wanted to, but it's not as easy. Now, one thing you guys may not know is these are actually interchangeable. Let's go ahead and turn on my Estes Proto X transmitter, and let's go ahead and plug in the Hubsan X4. I got my Estes transmitter here, and it's flying the Hubsan X4. And as you can see, it controls it just fine. Go ahead and land it back down. And now let's go ahead and turn on my Hubsan X4 transmitter and turn on my Proto X. And again, same thing. It'll fly with either transmitter. So these transmitters are basically interchangeable. They have the same programming. I'm trying to set everything to 0 right now. They have the same programming, so you can use either transmitter for either. And what the nice thing is, you can actually use the functions of the Hubsan X4 transmitter on the Estes Proto X. So you can actually make the Estes Proto X have dual rates, you can make it flip, and you can use basically all the functions you could use on the Hubsan X4, you can use on the Estes Proto X with this transmitter. So let me go ahead one more time and turn this on, and we'll just try out a couple things. I'm going to go ahead and center the gyros. And now I should be in low rates, and if I click this button, now I'm in high rates, and I can tell there's a big, it just did a flip, and we're going to show you the durability. It just did a flip on me because I went into high rates, and as you guys saw that little flip there, that was because I was moving the stick so fast to show you guys the movement. Go back into low rates here. I was moving the stick so fast, that's how you do the tricks. So as you can see, it'll do the flips, and it does have the low and high rate. Now I'm in low rate, and you can see it's not doing anything. Like I said, you could turn off that trick functionality by pushing in on the right stick. Let's go ahead though and put it back into the expert mode. Let's go ahead and try a backflip. So we're going to take it up, and I'm going to push, I believe for a backflip you push forward and then pull back. So let's go ahead and try a backflip here. See if I can get this on camera good. I'm trying to look at my camera and see, okay, I see where I'm at. Alright, let's try it now. Oh, didn't do it. Let's try it again. It did it, but I have a very small area right here that I'm trying it in. Another nice thing, like I just crashed on the ground, one of my blades came off, just pushes right back on, real simple. We'll try one more flip just for fun. Basically you guys will see the durability because I'm doing this in a very small area. Try a side flip. And it did it, but as you can see it dropped altitude, so it hit my table. And again, hit my table pretty hard, putting it back in low rates. But no damage, flying like perfect. So these two quadcopters have the exact same programming or brain inside of them. They're essentially the same thing, but this transmitter that comes with the Hubsan X4 offers a lot more flexibility, a lot more settings that you can do. The little transmitter that they give you with the Proto X, you can't do anything. There's no dual rate, there's no tricks, there's no settings that you can change. So with the Hubsan, I'm not going to flip the Hubsan inside, because it is bigger. It's durable as well. I'd say the Proto X is more durable. As you can see, I just flipped it around and it's still flying perfect. It's so light that it's just, you know, really can't damage it unless you really try to damage it or just hit something wrong. The Hubsan X4 here, which isn't connected to my transmitter, let me turn it off and on. The Hubsan X4 is a little bit bigger, a little bit heavier, and I actually prefer the Hubsan X4 because of that. The Proto X is nice, it flies great, but the Hubsan X4, being a little bit bigger, a little bit heavier, I feel it's a little bit more kind of stable. They're both very stable. I don't know if stable is the right word, but it feels more stable to me just because it's a larger size. It's just like people will tell you when you get into helicopters, larger helicopters are easier to fly than smaller ones. It's just because the extra mass, the extra spinning force of the blades, it just makes them a little bit more stable in the air. So this one, again, it's very durable. Try to get this leveled out here. Got a little bit of trim I want to do. I think I got it pretty trimmed. We need a little bit more forward trim. It's coming back at me. Alright, now it's going away from me. Alright, so here we got the Hubsan X4. And I'll get it close to the camera here. And I'll try to show you guys if I can get the throttle at the right amount. Throttle's the hard part, to keep it right at the right level. I'm trying to show you guys hands off here. So both are very, very stable. Both are easy to fly. As you can see, I'm in a very tight area here, and just doing little circles, little circuits, I can make this thing go exactly where I want it to go. Same with the other one. Now, like I said, I'm not going to flip this one inside, because if this one flips that close to the table, there's a chance I might break it, because it is a little bit bigger and heavier. But I have knocked this off the wall. I have had it crash. Very durable as well. So basically I wanted to show that if you want to get one or the other, it's hard to say which one is necessarily better in terms of just the quadcopter, but if you want to look at the whole package, the Hubsan X4 is better, and I would say that's the one you want to go with if you're really deciding which one to get. And maybe you get both of them, you know, go ahead and get both. But the reason why I say get the Hubsan X4 is because of the transmitter. You can do so many more settings, you can do the tricks, you can turn on and off the tricks, you can set up your rates, you can set up how fast you want high and low rates to work. There's just a lot more you can do with this transmitter. That being said, I love them both. I love the little Proto X as well, but it's basically up to the transmitter here, and it's also up to the fact that you can replace the battery, and you can have extra batteries for the Hubsan. For the ST's Proto X, you can't really do that. Like I said, sure, you can take it apart, you could probably get extra batteries, but it's not as commonly done. It's more common for people to get extra batteries for the Hubsan than it is for the Proto X. So let's go ahead and just take this off. I was flying that around. This one with the little controller, it does feel a little bit harder to control just because of the little controller. With the larger controller, it's easier, but I could do the same type of flight with it, no problem. The blue lights are in the front on both, so it's real simple for me to tell which way's which. And we got a little bit off trim here. Let me see if I can get the trim a little better. Need some forward trim. Need some backwards trim now. Going to try to give you guys a hands off here. Dropped it. Oh, it's upside down. So, they're both great. They're both stable. They both have great gyros that hold them very well. It's just that the transmitter on the Hubsan is better. That's a pretty good hands-off hover there. It's just that the transmitter with the Hubsan is better. So that's kind of the swaying thing for me, is the transmitter as well as the battery. The only swaying factor for the Proto X is the small size, and it is really cool. The small size and the durability of this are awesome, but as we just saw, the transmitter is a big differentiator when it comes to their capabilities. So I wanted to go over that. Lots of people ask me which one should I get, which one's better, and like I said, the helicopters themselves are both amazing, but the Hubsan has more options. I'm going to go ahead and take off the Proto X's outer shell here, and as you can see, you can replace the battery. It's right up in there, but not as many people do that. It's not very hard. It's just in there. I'm not sure if it's glued in. I don't think it's not Velcro. It's kind of it looks like it's just a plug, so it's easy to remove, but it is right on the circuit board, and it's put in with like double-sided foam tape. So if you pull that battery off and keep replacing it, I have a feeling over time it might end up damaging something. So yes, the battery is replaceable. So if you had to do it one time, if your battery stopped working, that would be fine. But in terms of swapping out the batteries for multiple flights in a row, it's not really as good for doing something like that. So I just wanted to show that you can replace it, but it's just, like I said, it's not something that is often done with the Proto X. Got to get that top back on later. So I hope that kind of explains to you guys the differences, and like I said, there's not a ton of difference in flight characteristics. They're both great quadcopters, but the Hubsan's remote, it just wins hands down. I'm not sure if you can buy this transmitter just separately. I'm really not sure if you can, but I'd say go ahead and get them both if you really like them. They're not that expensive, and then you can fly them both with that transmitter. So if you guys have any questions, let me know. Otherwise, happy flying. We'll see you all later.